They gotta be, you see yours. That's all. We can do it, and you can't do nothing about it, so happy mother.
Yeah.
Make sure that doesn't come out past your driveway.
The important thing is that money can be
You don't want it.
There's money to be made for Dayton.
No, we want to get pictures of
Yeah,
it.
it's right here.
Yeah. Where's your driveway?
Right there.
You wanna make sure that does
These all
not
the same.
interfere with your driveway. This comes
Yeah,
out.
we
It's all the
can come
same.
right there,
That's
see?
what you
Yes.
wanna make sure. You don't wanna come up here and have to turn around.
It's just easier to see.
Well,
Yeah. I think a good place for that is right there.
Pull it away.
Yeah, get it, move it into his field, move the road, get it out of everybody else's.
He didn't want me.
I feel bad for Vogel. That chunk of his pasture there.
We have a reserve seat over here if you want one.
Like this one here.
Or you can sit
He'll
right
just
there.
grab
Or you
that
can-
chair and put it on.
Here's
Or you
the
can
property
sit
that's
up
being
here.
developed, right? Where do they want to put the roundabout? On somebody else's property, so they can make more money, they can have more square footage, so. It's astonishing kind of how that.
What kind of, would they do the lighting like the similar one that's on Lake Grove Parkway, or like the other football stadium one that was?
All right, I think we'll get started here. I'll do my best to make sure everyone can hear as best we can. You can grab a mic if we get any issues with hearing things, but thank you for attending the meeting. We appreciate each and every one of you for coming out. We'll do short introductions. I'll kind of give a short introduction again of why we're here and why we invited you individuals to be in the meeting right away. And then we'll get to questions. We are recording this so that we are able to basically replay this later on with any residents who are looking for it that may not be able to be here tonight, that were within the area of us, kind of our focus area. So, as an introduction, my name is Zach Dowd. If I have not met you, I'm the City Administrator and Finance Director here at the City of Dayton.
Jason Quisberg, I'm the city engineer.
Nicole Gulick, roadway designer.
Stantec.
Yeah.
John Seavall, I'm hiding as the Community Development Director.
So as an introduction, I'll probably pass it off mostly to Jason here, but as an introduction, this is a high level plan. Again, it's a plan from the City of Dayton to try to address some of the issues and concerns that we've heard from Fernbrook residents, mostly over the last couple of years, but I know probably have been ongoing for several years with the developments that have happened in and around Fernbrook, is to address some of the traffic concerns, whether that's access, whether that's speed, and then also future development that comes in this area. The idea for us to do is just to kind of get a high level idea of a planning perspective of what are we looking to do, how much is it going to cost, and who's going to be the contributors to where the funding sources are going to be at. We have not designated any specific dollars to this project at all right now with the City of Dayton. We have some high level planning dollars for future roadway costs, but they're not identified specific to these projects. The only dollars that we have identified so far have been from the DCM Farms development, and we did get $2 million from that development in order to do essentially a intersection improvement at the 114th realignment, which is the center one that you see on the picture, the highlighted one at the bottom. Again, that has not been designed. The yellow lines were really well, as best done as we could on the drawing. They show up really well on your PDF, but they don't show up real well in the pictures. So that's the one we have identified funding for. If we're able to spread those that $2 million larger than that one roundabout or that one intersection improvement at this point, we can use them for other dollars along Fernbrook for the corridor. So our goal is to get a funding source available, get some high-level planning, and then go from there. The reason why you guys are all involved is because this is a project that would directly affect you and potentially some right-of-way and or easements that we would need along Fernbrook. That's why we specifically have sent out essentially a mailing for you individuals along Fernbrook. We understand that this affects a lot of residents, and there will be another open house that we have for the greater area, but this affects you guys directly and potentially some land that you may own that we may need for right-of-way and or utility improvements, easements, whatever it may have you. We have nothing identified yet. I want to make sure that's clear. We don't have anything identified yet, but that's kind of where we're at. I'll take it up to Jason, and then we can stand for any questions you may have. Fire away.
Well, that covered a lot of what I was going to say. I don't have anything formal or elaborate on this, but thank you all for coming. This was a great turnout. This is a lot more than I was expecting. So part of the main things I was hoping for is, for one, to get contact info so we can stay in touch with all of you as this moves forward in the future. I do want to say what we're showing tonight, this is all very, very preliminary. So we are on the very infant stage of this project. This is not necessarily what it's going to look like at the end. These are our initial thoughts to get something on paper. They're far from designs. But we did want to show something, generally what we're thinking at a concept level. The city has allotted funds to do a study to look at this corridor, specifically the intersections, justify the improvements at those intersections, and then using that information in attempt to gain funding for the project. So very, very early stages. We wanted to get your feedback on what are your main concerns. Is it pedestrian crossings? Is it different impacts? Maybe there's something specific that we're showing on here that would be a detrimental conflict on your property that we might want to try to work around, those types of things. So definitely want to hear from you tonight. So what I have to share is going to be very short, but I'm hoping that we'll have a lot of questions and discussions if you have any concerns specific to your properties. So as Zach mentioned, potentially long overdue projects. Everybody knows there's significant development going on along this corridor. With that comes additional vehicles, additional trips on and off of off of Fernbrook Lane. So our intent with this is to facilitate the access points in a safe manner using roundabouts as our preferred method. We have looked at signalized intersections in the past, but we're going with the roundabouts now. We have been in contact with the county. They are in favor of the roundabout solution at these intersections, at least at this stage. So we are looking to move forward. Again, no funding is identified, so therefore no real timeline, but what we are targeting is like a 2028 potential construction. Ideally, we'd see these coordinated such they could be done as part of a single project, whether that's done over a 1 year to a 2 year, maybe a 3 year period and phased. But as you're probably all aware, any detour with this section of road is ridiculous. It's especially being a county road, they have to detour on county roads, and it's literally about a 17-mile detour to get to the other side. So we want to limit the disruption as much as possible. I won't lie, there's going to be significant disruption with this, but the idea would be to phase it to limit those as much as possible. So I really don't have a whole lot beyond that, but would love, general questions for sure now, and then absolutely everybody can have the opportunity to come up, and hopefully someone can answer specific questions as well. Marcia?
I'm just wondering, the housing developer on 117, did you guys get any money from him for the roads too?
If Brayburn Trails?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, for one, they built all of 117th. So they built that all the way to the west, all the way to East French Lake Road.
Right.
With the initial development. He did contribute. He's actually funding the study we're in right now. So he did contribute. It was $125,000 towards the preliminary engineering of the project. Yeah.
Got several, said 2028. Now, some of these communities, like the ones directly behind us, may be already built next year. These developers, so where's all that? If this isn't gonna be phased in until then, where's that traffic going?
Well, using the, I suppose, do I need one?
No,
Okay.
you talking to that? You're good.
So I was just gonna say, you had mentioned that this stuff is getting phased in 2028, but the contractor behind us almost pretty much, not guaranteed, but we'd be developing in 2026 already. And I would think that the house is built and people moved in, so where's that traffic going on 114? And is that just you're gonna get dumped out at 114 for right now and then a stop sign? Because that's a catch-all there.
Yep. So, yeah, short of this project, and this may not happen in 28, to be honest, because again, there's not funding. We are chasing different funding sources to try to bring the project forward. But yeah, it'll operate as is until the time where there's funding and the opportunity to actually construct the improvements.
Will Hennepin County fund any of this?
They have we will apply for funding through a program that they have to assist in the project costs. As of now, they have not been open to entering a partnership on the project cost directly. So what that is they have it's called the cost participation program, where we can apply for up to $500,000 per project for assistance towards the improvements on their roadway. I did confirm with them that they would allow us to look at each intersection as a separate project, so that could come up to $1.5 million, but it's also a pretty limited funding source. I think it's a $48.5 million, or somewhere around, just under $50 million for, I think it's a 3-year window, so it's not a significant amount of money, and that's the whole county. So,
And does the government, the federal government, ever get involved in this?
we actually met with the Minnesota State Senate, the bonding committee, 2 weeks ago to present this project along with a couple others to see if they would consider part of the bonding bill. So a request was made. It was specific to Rush Creek Parkway, just to kind of simplify, and we can show the most need for that one, so that's why we targeted that one as the subject. But we did present to them. We're actually presenting to the House of Representatives, same committee, or same type of committee, but in the House rather than the Senate, tomorrow. So hopefully those go well. I think it was received pretty well. One of the senators, she's actually the head of the Transportation Committee as well, asked us to follow up and wants to discuss it more. So I thought that was a promising response, at least. So hopefully that goes somewhere, and that would be a big piece of our funding.
Yeah.
With that, so.
What does it cost to put in a roundabout these days?
It's all over the board. Like I said, we are really in the infancy, but we're probably thinking that, just ballparking, maybe we're around $2.5 million per intersection. Some will probably be more, some will probably be less. The whole thing might be more, but yeah, we're thinking probably $7 to $8 million for this project, and that's assuming limited improvements between the roundabouts, so they're really just the intersections. We are planning to go back to the county and see if they would like to expand any of the improvements to the segments between. I expect the answer will be no, but
And does the
it could
Met
grow.
Council
When you ask
get
a question, let's
involved?
not talk to the mic, just so when we're recording.
Oh, I'm not
I can-
loud enough.
No, you're loud enough. Just in general.
Does the Met Council get involved in this in any way?
No.
I wanted to direct this question towards you planners on the 114. We went to a meeting once upon a time back, less than a year ago, and they kind of made a joke about this coming in and basically coming up to a driveway and, it might block this lady's driveway and she'd have to come up to 170 to turn around.
Yeah.
And that just wasn't acceptable. So we're really hoping you
Yeah.
planners will consider that.
Yeah. On that note, and we heard that and definitely looked at it, and we've done some research, and we're confident that can be accommodated. What's often done, or we found many other places at least, is the raised concrete median. It's simply just cut down to allow access for those driveways. So, yeah. So that's what we would anticipate, at least. We'll know more when we get into the design.
What's the proposed speed limit once you get?
It'd be the same. That's a little bit of a separate, I guess on that note, I will share, the county did collect some data for us, both on traffic data, just turning movements at the intersections. Also did a speed study on there. So most folks aren't aware. They think the city or others can just pick speed limits. That's not the case. We have to do a study and record data, and then the speed limit is determined based on what people drive. So backwards of what you think it should be, or many think it should be. They did a speed study, and the average speed is actually above the speed limit, which is probably not a surprise.
Really?
Which means,
That means they can jack up the speed limit.
which means it actually could, if there was a request put in, that could lead to.
So
There's
how
a
do-
little more to it than I'm sharing, but
How do we
it's.
be a neighborhood
it's
in
a
St. Paul that reduced 35 to 45 miles an hour?
45 to 35?
On 35, that neighborhood in St. Paul got
Oh.
them to drop the federal highway speed down to 45.
That's a good question.
How do we be that neighborhood?
There.
I had a project in Lonsdale, a roundabout that's gonna get constructed next year, and the city was able to pass legislation that a section of the road could be reduced. But like, it's one of those, like, they skirted the process. Like, they did a whole thing, you know, and they went through this whole legislative thing to be able to do that. Which in the end, it was kind of like, we're putting in a roundabout and you just lowered the speed on the leaving the roundabout for the short, I mean, it was kind of a poor planning thing. But I had a project up in District 1 where it's 55, it's entering a low speed spot, and we wanted to, like, can we start the 30 mile an hour before this curve instead of after it? And it was that whole story of like, no, we can't do that because you have to do the speeds, you have to do, like, you have to do all of this stuff because that's just how the laws are set up. But sometimes you can do things like, this is where, as the geometric person, you can do things with your geometry to force people to slow down because they're just not comfortable. So it's like, well, technically it's still that fast and you can, but I can make it so that that's like, as you add curbs and you add things, it feels different and then people slow down. So that's a big part of when you do a roundabout, is that you have this zone where you make it uncomfortable for them to be going fast, and you put up like the green part in the middle. You make sure that's high enough so there's that visual barrier. So it's kind of like you change the environment that they're in, and then it helps people to slow down. By the spacing that you have, that will help overall, because if you figure that people are gonna, well, they'll leave the roundabout, well, now they'll speed up and slow down. Well, they're gonna get faster, but they're less likely to like hammer it and get going 60, 65, you know, especially once they're like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to slow down again pretty soon. So you do get that advantage. And that might be something where like, okay, well, if it gets constructed, then maybe down the road you can see and do that traffic study. But it's that gamble, because if you spend the money and you do the traffic study and go through the whole thing, and like you say, you don't get the answer that you want, you can't be like, just kidding, we didn't really do it. Like, once you do the study's
We
there.
didn't really mean it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, grab the mic.
I don't want anybody to yell at me for
No,
that.
I'm not yelling at anybody. No.
You gotta be able to hear me, right?
Yep.
A couple of things. First thing, because we're on the speed limit thing, we've had that discussion about how they set speed limits on roads, and to me, it seems the most archaic thing I've ever heard of in my life, and it makes absolutely no sense. If your speed limit on the road doesn't take into any consideration the condition of the road, the sight lines on the road, the entrances and exits off from the road, then setting speed limits based on people's driving patterns is got to be the dumbest thing, just to be blunt, that I've ever heard of in my life. And Jason's heard me say this before. We've had this conversation. I can't believe that we've relegated the safety of our roads and the speed limits on our roads to the people that are actually driving on our roads, and the people that are making them unsafe by driving faster are somehow contributing to the raising of the speed limits on our roads. That makes no sense to me at all. When you go by a school, you have signs that tell you to slow down for the school. And if there's kids out there, you even go slower because there's kids out there. If you take those signs away, people are going to drive through there without slowing down for those kids. There's a reason you put those signs up to slow people down. There's a reason you put up signs at intersections to slow people down. There's a reason you do that at corners to slow people down, because people don't have enough common sense to drive rational. We all know that. Anybody that's ever driven on our roads knows that. So that part makes no sense to me at all. And you can tell me the rationale that they're using, but to me it's just stupid.
well,
The other thing that I wanted to bring up before I lose my train of thought on it is the location of these roundabouts that you're theoretically going to put in. The one for 113th realignment to 114th. I see, some dotted lines on some of those maps. It actually shows that intersection taking away property from the adjacent property owners on the east side of Fernbrook Lane. I don't understand why you would even consider doing that. The only reason that you're having to put a roundabout, or theoretically having to put a roundabout on 113th, is because the developer across the street is cramming hundreds and hundreds of homes and adding a tremendous amount of traffic to the current roads that are there. Why would anybody on the east side of 113th, or any of the existing homeowners there, have to give up 1 inch of property when he's got that whole open field? If he wants a roundabout there, and he's already committed to paying for it, or at least paying for part of it anyway, put it on his property. Why does it have to encroach on somebody else? I don't understand that at all. I would be thoroughly against that at any step of our planning here.
Sure. I'll take that.
Can I
You
respond
wanna address
quickly
that?
on the geometry
Yeah,
aspect?
that's your question, Keith, because it's important.
So, like Jason said, these are very preliminary. I didn't do these, but there's a certain amount of, you generally kind of start with it right in the middle of the intersection, and then you adapt based on what's going on. When I look at that one at 114th, if I was to take that center circle and shift it to the side, shift it far enough this direction to not impact these two properties, you're gonna wipe out a bunch of these
Yes.
houses to make it happen. Because the only way to do, no, you will. Because what will happen is that this road now has to be realigned to come into that roundabout. So as much as possible, ideally, every time we put in a roundabout, the center is on the center of the intersection. That's usually the best way we can do it. Everybody gets a little bit of pain, but it tends to be cheaper because you stay on the existing alignment. Like when we asked about cost, that becomes a big cost. The more you shift off of the existing roadway, you now have to build an entire roadway where if you're on the existing, you can salvage a bunch of it. I mean, it's more expensive to go put a new road out in the middle of, out here than it is to keep it on there. So that's one thing, is that every time you shift, it doesn't make it go away, it just shifts the burden to somebody else. And that's part of our intent with this discussion, is to be able to, one, have everybody understand that, but also to be able to say, you're the one who lives right there close. Tell us more about what you have going on so that we can understand. So when I go back and I'm trying to draw this in and try to balance, I don't want to take your house. I don't want to wreck your driveway. I don't want to take away access. I don't want to do any of that, if at all possible. So I have to try to balance what impacts can I do. And it's going to be easier to push into a field than it is to push into a residence, but I can only go so far. So that's, it's trading and balancing, and part of it is they're bigger. It just takes up more space, so it can't fit into that existing right-of-way as it stands right now either.
Hennepin County did that. They did that on 101 and Territorial Road over by the freeway in southwest Dayton. The whole roundabout is switched to the west. They didn't take any property to the east of the road, so it can be done because they
But
did
like you
it.
just said, that one's a mini,
It's a mini.
which
That's not a
functions
standard size.
completely differently. Because on
Well,
a
it's a
mini,
lot-
you can drive over the
lot
whole
smaller.
thing, and it's a lot smaller. And a mini roundabout would,
That's on anyway.
you'd be able to put in, like in an urban intersection where you have curbs everywhere. A mini roundabout, you basically can put into those existing intersections, and it's almost like fancy striping. It basically is just to get everybody to act that way, but you don't have that's not can't be a high-speed scenario if it's a mini, that's for certain. It has to be all low speeds. And if this is 55 miles an hour, if it was a MnDOT roundabout, you're gonna have 300-foot medians going out, 200 to 300-foot approaches going out, just to slow people down.
I don't know if anybody's noticed or not, but from Maple Grove and 81 to 114th in Dayton, the speed limit is 40. It's 40. It's signed 40. They do not go 55 miles an hour in Dayton until they get to 114th.
That's where the first 55 sign is now.
Right.
Since they realigned the road.
Right.
I don't know tons of
So-
detail
so
about the speed limit
That part of
stuff.
114, the speed limit should be 40 miles an hour.
On the south side of 114, is what you're saying, correct?
Northbound.
It's
North.
40 on both
Yeah.
ends of that
North or
road.
southbound?
Yeah, north or southbound, but south of 114,
Right.
not
Right.
north of it.
Right.
That's 40, she said.
Yep.
So next time you guys drive from County Road 81, through that new horrendous road that Maple Grove put in,
Yeah.
It's 40.
Yeah, it's 40, all the way down through the four-way stop until 114.
Do you know, Jason, is like roadway classification factor into the speeds?
It can. So, and that's actually one of the exceptions where you can lower the speed, which we did on Territorial a handful of years, a couple of handfuls maybe, off of 81. We were able to go from 45 to 35, and that was based on a rural residential classification. So there are some exceptions, very few and far between, and that was only done because we could demonstrate the excess density met the requirements. In other words, there's few enough driveways that we could take a section of the road and drop the speed limit without having to conduct a study. But
So you're saying that they actually look at the driveways, the access, or the
for
the
that,
entrance and-
for our claim to stay within state statute, we were able to do that for a segment. It was a very defined segment.
Right, because from the southern edge of Dayton on Fernbrook Lane all the way around to Pineview, on the top of the hill over here, there's over 60
Driveways.
streets, driveways, entrances, and access points along that road, along with being horrible sight lines in probably 60% of it.
And this one has a different designation, so it doesn't apply to have the rural residential. Again, that's a very specific one. We were able to go from 45 to 35. This is a major collector, so it meets different classifications, and we're not able to use that.
But
class.
they've already lowered the speed limit on the Champlin end. When you come out of
Maple Grove?
Dayton, no,
Or Champlin?
out of Champlin.
Oh.
When you come out of Champlin on 121, the speed limit is 40 miles an hour all the way until you're almost to the bottom of the hill at Pineview.
Okay,
And then it jumps to 55. That never used to be 40 miles an hour in there.
okay.
That was always 55, all the way into Champlin, within 2 blocks of Dayton River Road.
Okay.
Somehow, that got lowered. So how did Dayton get that lowered? Or did we just blindly luck out and Champlin did it for us and
Champlin
moved the
might have
signs
done
in the wrong
study,
place?
Because we did work with Champlin to do a study along River Road quite some time ago, and it was opted to not do it. We got the speed data and we realized it probably would have gone up, so we decided not to move forward with it. There was one redone more recently, and there was some adjustments made on River Road as well. But again, that's the speed study.
There's a bunch of residents right there too on
Can I
where they
have,
lower it.
I don't know these roads as well as you guys, obviously. For the area that you're talking about, you know, this stretch kind of in Champlin and stuff, were there construction projects and things that changed the road? Because to me, I mean, I don't know, because like, if this stretch of road has been 55 and it's, you know,
Very similar to what.
and it hasn't really changed for a very long time, that's where I think it's gonna be, like, if you have projects that add more things and, you know, if the situation changes, that's gonna be more of when you would have that opportunity to be like, okay, now we have more driveways, now we have a different scenario, so then you might be able to look at it and figure out if there's a reason that, you know, the driveway density is now close enough, or, you know, that it changes kind of what that situation is. But if your road hasn't changed and it's serving a large volume of vehicles, they're not gonna be like, we're just gonna slow it down, okay, but you're still gonna have the same number of cars. And I think part of the concern, if you just decide you want it slower, people already are driving faster. So if you you say now it's 40 miles an hour, are people gonna drive 40 just because you put that sign up there?
Well, they
Yeah,
might drive
because the
50
police
instead of
are there.
65.
But I think those are the parts. So I don't think it's that anybody,
that.
I think what's unfortunate is the city and as the engineers, we don't have the ability to just say, I want to make this slower. So we can use certain tools to try to help that, to try to influence driver behavior, change that environment, you know, put in roundabouts. Like, there are things we can do to help that situation, but whether we agree with it or not, I don't have the ability to just do the project and go and say, it's 40 now. Like, I can't.
One thing that I think has helped is that
We-
the
yeah,
current one.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
Sorry, not that you're not loud enough. I just want to make sure the people that are, when we send this out to you guys for the YouTube thing like we did before, I think a few of you mentioned it, that we can all hear what your question is.
So I don't remember the cross street, the Rush Creek one there. That switched to the four-way stop, right, recently? Mm-hmm. And I have seen significantly lower speeds directly in front of my house. I live across from Dean's, the restaurant. So I I'm gonna ask a question that is probably oversimplified and I understand. Why don't we just stick four-way stops at the other ones and make it really annoying to come through here to, right, to slow it down artificially, even though technically the speed limit is 55, if we could save $6 million in 3 years worth of construction and over the weekend pay the road crew to put up four-way stop signs and put the little blinking lights for a month.
Yep,
Uh,
I agree.
Yeah, and that would be the county's call on that. They did, that was actually a county project to put the stop signs in there. It was
How
county.
did that get initiated?
Our request that the intersection was failing and it wasn't
Enough of them.
operating correctly. What's that?
Yeah, said enough of the requests of us.
Oh,
to
yeah.
Continue.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
could do that again?
We can, but to be honest, they use some equations and they look at the data to see if it's justified to put those in, and it would not be on the other intersection. We could certainly put the request in. I just expect it would be a very abrupt no.
I think the question could be posed. To your
Yeah.
We could pose the question. Doesn't mean we won't get a no answer, but we could try.
Yeah,
Do they factor in accident rates on this road? Because
Yeah.
there are constant rear endings as people are sitting at 0 miles an hour waiting to turn left at one of the 67 access points along it. I mean, is that factored?
That's a major component of it,
Okay.
yeah. For the funding as well, yeah, that's looked at highly for funding and the improvements themselves.
There is not as many rear endings as you probably think. We did pull data from 2020.
Or at least not reported.
At least not reported ones, there are. We did pull data from 2023, is it 2023, Jason? 2022 to 2025 for police data that we have. There's numerous off the road, you know, where somebody veered off the road or hit something off the road, but there is like 3 accidents on vehicles. That's it, that's been reported. So if there's lots more of them, we'd love to hear about them because.
The number of times I sweep up taillight plastic in my driveway would argue that is significantly more than 3.
It probably is.
Probably is, but there's only.
They don't wanna pay the insurance.
I get it.
They buy
I
a
mean,
new light.
We only get what's reported and then filed.
So, and that's through the police department.
Yeah.
I can throw up a trail cam and I'll just start collecting data if that's helpful.
That's more helpful than what we have currently, so.
Call the police every time it happens,
Oh,
because
yeah.
the police need to know.
That is part of the report, is trying to get the funding sources, say, hey, we have problems and issues here, there's accidents, and then when we pull the data, it says, you've had, I don't know, 3 of these and 5 of these in the last 3 years, and the county's gonna go, that's nothing, so.
But we want the roundabouts because it keeps the traffic flowing. If we have stop signs, you imagine trying to get out of one of our driveways, if there's stop signs, how long of a road to
Well,
get
even
out
since
on
Maple
there?
Grove, because what's interesting is Maple Grove originally said that that piece of Fernbrook to 81 was gonna stay. And then suddenly it disappeared, and that's how that one person ended up with a 4,000 foot long driveway.
Yeah, did you see that story?
I did, yeah, and I know that's Maple Grove, so I understand,
Yeah,
but
that's-
that, but what's happened though is that now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but if you try to go to work at about 8 o'clock, it's backed up from
Yeah.
81
Yeah.
all the way back to the four-way stop.
Yeah.
Because they took out one of the intersections, so like, I don't quite understand how that all happened, and now they just sort of said, well, sucks for you guys, when they took out an intersection, so.
You wanna go into that? or-
I wish I had an answer for it, I don't.
Maple Grove does not care about.
I understand that isn't, you guys, I get it's a separate city, but it's rather convenient that that line
What's
suddenly.
the intersection type at where the line starts?
Where what line, I apologize.
When you said
it's
like
a-
the backup.
Rush Creek.
Yeah, so it
Like when you
goes
go-
from right,
Rush Creek
the
all the
four-way
way-
stop there,
Territorial Road.
all the way through one roundabout, and
Yeah.
then to the stoplight at
I
81.
do know that they had to remove one leg of Fernbrook in order for them to connect up to Maple Grove Parkway. So the county would not allow 2 four-way intersections on County Road 81 that close together. So Maple Grove had to make a decision of which one are they gonna turn into, because they've always had a 3-legged intersection at Maple Grove Parkway.
Sure.
And they've always had a 4-legged intersection at Fernbrook. Yes,
Yeah.
at Fernbrook and 81. And so people would always say, I'm gonna call it the Z motion to get to Maple Grove Parkway if they ever wanted to. So when they made the connection to Fernbrook and said, we're gonna go directly to Maple Grove Parkway, Maple Grove had to make a decision of what section of the other Fernbrook are they going to cut off? The south side or the north side? And they decided the north side. I don't know who decided that, it wasn't me, somebody decided the north side, and that's why that was removed.
They also didn't put a designated right turn to go from South Fernbrook to West 81, so everyone going to 94 sits waits to try to get to turn right, which is just asinine, but again.
And there might be reasons.
Yeah.
There might, I mean, and
I'm
it could
sure
be-
someone's got a
right.
reason somewhere.
And there could be things of like,
But that's why I know that's why
Yeah.
the one intersection was closed, because the county made the determination you had to close one. Or
and
they
that's
closed
gonna
one.
be a safety issue on 81, that they're gonna say we can't have accesses too close together, you know. They're gonna limit the number of times that you can access and how all of that works. I mean, there can be so many things that cause it of like, well, is there space, is there right of way, you know, and whatever it is, or it might be something where, you know, how much of the day is it an issue? I mean, you can look at some projects, or I worked on a corridor study up by Hinckley. And if you're there on those heavy travel days of, you know, Friday night going north and by Toby's, and it's a mess.
Yeah.
And then on Sunday, it's a mess. But it's like, okay, for this many months of the year, 4 hours on this day and 4 hours on this day, it's a mess. Okay, well, how much money do you put into redoing all, you know, for this small window? So sometimes that stuff happens, and it might just have to hit some magical threshold. I don't know. That's where the traffic folks come in. I just let them tell me where you need lanes and where they gotta go and things like that. Doing roundabouts at these intersections, like you mentioned, you know, access for your driveways and things. The other thing that roundabouts definitely help, it does allow that through traffic to keep going, where if you just have, like right now, I would imagine if you're on 114th and you wanna take a left, at the end of the day, you probably sit there a heck of a long time waiting to get out. Putting in those roundabouts do help those other people. They help you get a chance to turn.
I disagree.
You don't think they help?
What's happened since you put, the mic's
Yeah.
there, I'm sorry.
We can get the mic, we'll get the mic to you.
You'll be able to hear.
Again, the mic's not for me, it's for everybody who's watching this later on.
Hello, people in back. What's happened since this roundabout went into Pineview is the traffic on 121 in the morning, southbound in front of my house, is spaced out such that you can't get out. And what I see is the roundabouts are just spacing traffic. They make it tougher to get out. I mean, there's times I'm sitting there 6-8 minutes waiting to get out of my driveway. And I would say, rather than sit at your desk and design these, I'd invite you to come out and look at what the roads are like.
But at the intersection, I'm saying at the intersection, driveways is hard. There's only so much we can ever do at a driveway.
Right, but the reason the driveways are like that is because of the spacing in the cars. The cars slow down to go around the roundabouts, which is not, I mean, I like them, the roundabout, or that should have been a roundabout at Rush Creek, and pretty much everybody knows it except the people that designed it and built it. But, I'm sorry. It's terrible. I mean, right now, you got both right turn lanes closed down and stuff there, but my feeling, I guess one comment I'd like to get out nicely is I think you should come out and see what these roads look like after you engineer them, because if you're coming northbound across 81 on Maple Grove Parkway, the road doesn't even line up with the other opposite side of the road. You know, the paint stripes are over a half a car width, and it's just like nobody thought this all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
I drive on the shoulder to put my tire tracks on there because I want them to see that people.
No, I know it, but it's like, we got a lot of people planning and building and doing things, but nobody's talking to each other here. The traffic is getting worse, and I have, you know, we talked a little bit about the speed limits, that you can't do anything, but the city is telling us that this traffic is gonna triple by the time DCM Farms gets done. It's gonna be over 15,000 cars a day. And last I heard, it's like at 5,500, something like that. I'm not hearing any plans for expanding how to handle more traffic. We're just gonna slow some of it down by putting in roundabouts, and the people that live here are not gonna be able to get out on their roads. I'd invite you to come out and drive these roads at 7:15 to 7:45 on Fernbrook a few times and see what it's like. And going home, the northbound side is just as bad at 4:15 or whatever, so.
So am I hearing, like, do you think roundabouts are actually detrimental to the?
No, what roundabouts are, if you had the right amount of traffic, I think a roundabout's a great idea. But the fact is, you're gonna triple the traffic on this road right now, and it's still gonna be a 2-lane highway.
We don't have control of the traffic, unfortunately.
No, but somewhere it seems like we do, because everybody's taken the study, we're gonna put 15,000 cars a day on here, and we're not building the infrastructure to support it.
That's the bingo. the infrastructure.
Yeah, that's not the city developing, that's the
What?
landowners.
But, so don't kick the can to somebody else, say,
Yeah.
let's fix it.
But, I mean, this is a step in that direction. That's
Yeah, I'm not so sure.
No?
I mean, I'm not seeing that this is gonna make my life a little bit better.
Okay.
I hope you can do something, but I'm not as optimistic as I was when I came in the door, in fact.
Okay.
Well, if we're gonna have roundabouts here, my recommendation is that there's pedestrian signs or lights that go up so that people know when they're gonna go around that they have to watch for pedestrians. Because when they put, you know, that when they did that thing on Rush Creek there's people crossing that intersection with baby buggies. And there's no pedestrian sign, nothing. And so my recommendation is that when you do put any stop sign or you do put any roundabouts in, that you make sure that you're thinking about the pedestrians that are gonna walk across. And none of that, I don't see any of that done. And the other thing, I just wanted to go off of Lee and say, I think that Dayton has lacked the infrastructure for all of the building. I mean, yeah, we'll build till we can't build anymore, but where are all the other roads that are going to take care of the 1,000 cars that are coming? It's the infrastructure, and I think the planning committee needs to do something about that.
Sure. I will share just on the pedestrian facilities. We have requested them here continuously. Same with Pine View. We have not been allowed to put signage or lights.
But
on.
requesting them doesn't make it happen. Something has to be a little more forceful. I mean, in my opinion, because people cross these intersections and there's people driving there, they don't know that there's people that can cross there. And I think it has to be a little more forceful than saying, we've tried.
Well, I mean, it's also probably an $80,000 improvement that the county would come and remove, so it would,
Well, for
it's
all
their
the
jurisdiction.
For the $5,000 that you're getting for every 253 homes that are going into the DCM, take that and do something with that. Okay.
What would you, I hear your guys' comments and questions. What would be your thoughts about, so this is not considered an improvement or anything to you guys, because it's not infrastructure that's needed. What are your thoughts of infrastructure that's needed to make it any better?
Well, I think there needs to be some kind of road that goes across the river other than the one in Champlin. And that was proposed many years ago in Dayton.
Decades ago.
And they nixed it. And
You're
why?
talking about a river crossing?
Yep.
But Kathy, that's gonna add more cars to the roads in Dayton.
Oh, it
The
can
people
alleviate some of them
No.
coming from Champlin.
So you're not talking about infrastructure here, in this area. You're talking
No.
about infrastructure,
Well, it
In-
includes
in
this area,
In
though.
Dayton, all over Dayton.
correct. So if you want to include this area, what would you propose to be better? Make it
I
a
would
four-way?
find a
four
way
lanes?
to, before we had the Pine View roundabout, are we okay without the mic here?
Sorry.
That's all right. Before we had the Pine View roundabout, in the morning, the cars would cluster up, there'd be 6, 8, 10 of them, and then there'd be a space to get out. So I could turn out left or right from my driveway and could move up and down 121. With the Pine View roundabout, the cars are spaced just enough, so it's really hairy sometimes to get out, and I'm getting older, I shouldn't be getting braver. That's just one of the realities. The traffic congestion on 121 is getting worse, and you still have 10,000 more cars a day that you're planning on adding within 6 years, as I understand the numbers that have been coming out.
And that's what I'm asking you. How do we fix that?
You know,
How
I
do we-
think
how do we- Besides putting up
This
a
is
do
gonna
not
sound
drive
like
this
this is
road
gonna
sign,
sound
I
like a
can't do
cheap
that.
shot. This is gonna sound like a cheap shot, and I don't mean it to, but I'd get some good, competent people designing these roads.
How about a north-south road through all the new developments that'll handle cars?
The developer didn't want to give that up, because that was proposed.
At one time, they were talking about rerouting 121, and so they would have room to make it eventually 4 lanes.
Sounded good.
Right through DCM Farms.
Right along where the Highlands are.
Right through where, what is that name?
Rayburn.
Rayburn Trails,
Right
yeah.
through Rayburn. But instead, the city decides, oh, we'll just let them build houses
Hold
instead.
it next to it, that's
You know?
close.
Does
So-
an extra.
That was a city council decision.
Yeah.
I wanna make sure that's clear, it's a city council decision, not a city staff decision, so.
Yep.
There was a 100-foot corridor saved in the Rayburn Trails development, if you remember back for the preliminary plat that was approved back in 2022 or 2023. The city council gave us direction that said, we do not want that roadway there, we do not want that connection there. Remove that 100-foot corridor that was reserved for
Put in
that.
more houses, you
And
remember.
put in more houses, you got it. Well, I don't know if it was more houses, but space them out, give another
Yeah.
cul-de-sac or whatever. It might have added like 8 or 9 houses or something like that. So that, just wanna make sure that's clear. And I hear I asked a question because I wanna make sure that we're trying to do our best here, and focusing on this area.
Yep.
But obviously, this is not just your city, I mean, the traffic goes everywhere, so we gotta make sure it can still funnel, so that's why I asked the question.
So it's
Do we-
gonna matter what we think here, if the city council just says, we're gonna do this anyways.
That's very possible.
Yes, it is.
And that would be, and we will provide you all the information so you guys are aware, so you can come in and talk to your council members, because you guys elect them, we don't. I work for the city, Jason works for the city, John works for the city, and that's what we do. We work for the city, we work for the city council. When you guys elect somebody, that's who we have to listen to. And so, if you're not happy with the city council discussion about whatever that may be, you need to go talk to your city council members or be in the meetings, because I know Marcia and Keith are here often or whatnot, or reach out to them, or, yeah, I mean, we will keep everybody posted in this meeting, along with everyone else, along the corridor study and everything information, so that you guys are aware of what's happening.
Is this a spot, and I'm just asking, I don't know, but is this a spot where a traffic light would space traffic out more? Would stop traffic and let a gap get in there and make room? Or is there an option to add an additional, I hate to say it because I live there, but what about adding an additional lane? Handling more traffic if you're going to do that, but just cramming more cars into a single lane northbound and a single lane southbound just doesn't seem like it's doing anything.
I don't know if the improvements themselves are creating more traffic, but I understand your point of more going to the area. I mean, as far as a
Well-
signal, generally, yes, they'll
Okay,
create some.
I'm just
breaks.
asking if that's a consideration, because,
Yeah.
we don't talk about signals much here.
That was actually the original plan for this intersection, was a signal. But the county is more supportive of the roundabout as well.
Because-
They're a little
because they
bit
don't live
easier
here
to
either.
build prior to actual justification on it,
Right.
because there's less negative or less detriment to installing a roundabout pre-warrant, if you will. So if there's not enough cars to justify it, you can install it without negative benefits.
So I'm just, I grew
Signal's
up,
not necessarily
Yeah.
the same.
I grew up in North Minneapolis, and there used to be a roundabout at West, where Lowry crosses 81. There was a roundabout, and they took that out and redid some other things, built the bridges and all that. I was just wondering, and this is like 50 years ago. Is this something to look at now? We can spare ourselves the agony of building a roundabout? 'Cause like I said, the intersection at Rush Creek is just totally wrong. It shouldn't have been built like that in the first place. And I'm guessing we're not getting our money back on that deal.
Nope, that's good.
So, you cut out the right turn lanes, the traffic backs up further. I don't know, like I say, it's probably nice to plan, but I think we gotta make it work. And again, I'd like to see you guys come out and drive these roads a couple times in the morning and see what you think.
Well, there's Fernbrook.
Lights are most certainly possible. We will sit there and, they are significantly cheaper than a roundabout.
I
So,
understand that.
it's much easier to put a street light in than it is to put a roundabout in. I know there'll be more lights, so that's not great for everybody who lives along the roadway. I know there is some lighting that is needed, just a downcast on the roundabout to keep it safe, based on that, but, yeah, if we can get a light in, it saves a lot of money, but it's also not our roadway. So unfortunately, I know everyone hates the answer, but we can have all the money in the world and say, hey, we have this money for the roundabout, put it in, and they're gonna go, yeah, we don't want it there.
Part of what I fear right now, Zach, is we're talking, like I say, 2 years ago, we had all these meetings about what we're gonna do with 121. And in the end, the last meeting said, hey, it's a county road, we're not gonna do anything.
And now we have.
Yeah, and now we're at this,
How does that happen?
and again.
Or you mean at Rush Creek Parkway in
No,
121?
well, but this is when you were talking about rerouting with the X plan and up.
Oh, that's with the council we're talking about?
Yeah.
Yep.
And all these meetings with things that we're gonna do to 121, and then just decided, well, it's not our problem, really, it's the county's problem. So here we are, and I'm not talking to the county right now, am I?
Nope.
How come someone from the county isn't here?
Not
Not
interested.
interested, honest.
I guess that they weren't on the mailing list, right?
Well, I think they're aware of this corridor study going on.
They
They're
are.
aware of the informational meetings. I mean, they're not aware of it.
I don't understand, why doesn't the county want lights? And we want this, even though they're more expensive and take longer to do. Impact
Again,
traffic more.
lights take certain justifications, so there's a lot of
Like what
info that
justification?
goes into it.
Traffic
about-
volumes,
Yeah.
turns.
Unfortunately,
Like, it's a whole-
accidents, but
There's
it's a lot.
like it's a signal justification report, like a separate document has to be done,
Maybe
you
if
have
they
to
came and
meet.
sat in my driveway and tried to get out.
Like how
But
much
if we had,
traffic?
50,000
is
stoplights, though,
enough?
wouldn't that almost guarantee adequate?
There's
It
a
has
lot
to
to
do
it.
with-
There's like 16 different warrants.
Lots of questions going
Yeah.
on.
All right,
Okay.
but I got the mic.
You got the
I
mic, Lee, you do.
If we had stoplights, wouldn't that
question.
help guarantee pedestrian safety crossing, particularly 121?
I don't think we can guarantee pedestrian safety no matter what we do.
Okay, but I have actually stopped at the round one, at the Rush Creek before and had people drive around me on the right and almost run over a pedestrian that I stopped for. So I'm thinking if there was something,
Well, there
I
should
can
be
do all
pedestrian
kinds of things with the
sign.
road, but I can't
I
fix
agree.
that person,
right,
right?
But-
I mean,
but let's-
if
let's
someone's
make an
gonna
effort.
drive
There's not even
excessive
pedestrian
speeds or not
crosswalk
follow the
marks
laws,
there.
there's nothing I can do for them. I do my best,
right, but
But-
there's not even a pedestrian crosswalk mark there.
then
That's-
people shouldn't be crossing.
There's a sidewalk
Well,
and
wait,
a
there's-
trail.
I mean, I don't know
But
the
these-
intersection, but
So
like, if
just
there's a
on the
You need to
pedestrian-
know the intersection if you're gonna work on this.
And-
he's talking about a different intersection.
Right, no, I'm talking about the Rush
We,
Creek
we
intersection.
just initiated the study, so she is just getting involved with this. Again,
You're in hot water
these,
now.
she didn't
No,
even
I
do
think you
this,
said
and this
at a
is almost
roundabout, that
nothing.
you were at a roundabout
So-
in a different spot.
Right, but
My apologies.
yeah, and I'm not a particular fan of stoplights, but I see a stoplight as making traffic stop so somebody can cross. It spaces out traffic on 121. Like I say, I feel like I shouldn't even be talking as favorable about them as I am, but that might be a solution. A better solution than just keep traffic moving around a roundabout if pedestrians are trying to cross or, because there are things, one of the selling points of Sundance Woods and the DCM Farms is easy access to Elm Creek Park, if you don't die getting there. You know, it shouldn't be like that, and anyway,
Disagree.
I'm gonna let somebody else do this for a minute.
I do want to address your question that you had about how many cars and whatever else are needed to get a signal. I think that was what your question was, correct?
Yeah.
And then, okay, we want to, I don't.
Yeah, you probably do more SJRs than I do.
I don't do any because
No? Okay, I
I
can.
let the traffic folks do those.
So
but-
it's a very exhaustive analysis of pedestrian use, traffic use, turning movements, accident history. There's a lot of information that goes into it, and that is what is used to justify the project. So it's literally, if you get enough of the points scored or tallied up during the study, then the project would be considered by the jurisdiction that owns the roadway, which in this case is the county. They will not touch an intersection for a signal, at least in my experience, prior to those warrants being met for a signal. There's also a roundabout justification form. There's a little bit more leniency with that. Again, if you have an intersection and you build a signal where it's not really needed, you might have people waiting for long periods of time where it's not warranted. It actually slows traffic, it makes it less efficient. If you put in a roundabout, it generally does not hinder the flow of traffic, even if it's not really warranted. Even if all of the cars are going through, there's not much of a downside to it. So there's more leniency with.
Well, think of how many times you've sat at a light and there's no cars and you're looking at a red and there's nobody. And how pissed off are you getting? My husband does this, I hear all the time. How pissed off are you, how long it is, or why can't I go because who's got a green? And you're standing, and people are getting fired up.
But if we bump the guy 2 blocks down, I think that's a good idea.
But like, I mean,
What was your question again, sorry?
Can't they change the timing of
Change the
those
timing.
lights?
Okay.
I mean, you can.
but you're
do it
gonna
on
get
your cell
to,
phone.
it's 11 o'clock at night and you're coming through. I mean, it can have some variations, but you still can have that time that you show up and you're waiting. And you can put loops in and you can do detection to help. I mean, you can do things to help that, but there's still gonna be times where you pull up and you're like, what am I waiting for, or something happened. Like, that's gonna happen, no matter what. And I've been behind that car where we pull up, and I've been sitting at a red light and then watched the car ahead of me just go. When I almost start going, because I'm like, oh, it's green, and you're like, oh crap, it's not, it's still red, and they just got tired of waiting.
in the situation that you just described with low traffic and being frustrated that you're sitting there at a light, we all have experienced that. I don't know how you get rid of that completely. I don't think you can, other than
Take out
try
the
to
light and put in a roundabout.
computerize the lights so they know when cars are there and change them, so you're not sitting there for 3 minutes when no one goes across in front of you. But both of the ideas that we're talking about here, roundabouts have their pluses, and stoplights or stop signs have their pluses. Neither one of them fixes the whole problem here. At a roundabout, if you have major traffic on a major thoroughfare, like 121, in the morning and in the afternoon, for 3 in the morning and 3 hours in the morning and probably 3 in the afternoon, if you have a roundabout, the traffic coming from DCM or from Sundance or from us coming out of our driveways is not going to get helped by that roundabout. It just isn't. I remember 20 years ago, the first time I ever sat at a roundabout was down in Mankato, and I think I think one of you guys said that was probably one of the first ones they ever put in the state. 2 4-lane roads crossed, and they put this huge roundabout in there that you could drive 2 semis through at a time. But most of the traffic was the cross traffic. You could sit at that intersection for 10 flipping minutes during rush hour in Mankato. You couldn't get into that intersection because the main traffic going through the roundabout, once they get into the roundabout, those folks have the right of way. And there's not enough spacing between each one of them for you to even get out. I see if you have a roundabout at Rush Creek Parkway, or if you have a roundabout at 113th, that during those times that we're talking about, when that traffic is so heavy on Fernbrook Lane or 121, those people ain't gonna get out. They're not even gonna get into that roundabout. They're gonna sit there and sit there and sit there because no one on the thoroughfare going north or south on Fernbrook Lane is gonna let them in.
You just tighten up the gap.
Yeah, exactly, and you can't get in. You can, part of the backup that you see coming from Maple Grove that backs all the way up into Dayton is because of the roundabout at Territorial that they just put in. Go up there during rush hour and watch these poor people on Territorial trying to get out of there. They can't get out because the traffic is heavy, and there's no openings between cars. Stoplights, I don't know if they're the end-all or be-all, but stoplights at least give you a chance at some point in the near future that you're going to be able to get through that intersection. Stop signs do the same thing. If there was a roundabout at Rush Creek Parkway, that traffic coming out of Rush Creek to 121 in the mornings or the afternoons wouldn't have a prayer. They wouldn't be able to get out to go south or north.
I'm gonna guess you see less backups heading north on Fernbrook than you do south. And that's likely because of the offset between a stoplight and a roundabout. So if you had a roundabout at 81 and Fernbrook Lane or Maple Grove Park or whatever you wanna call it now, because there's a stoplight there. So the problem is it stops traffic, then it backs up through the roundabout all the way back to your stop sign that you see every day, or the county just put in, and then it's all of a sudden it's green. Then everyone's hammering on the gas because everyone's right bumper to bumper. So that's why no one on Territorial can get out. Don't disagree with me one bit.
Why didn't they put a roundabout on 81?
I would love to know that answer. That's a great question. Ask the county.
Because they know they don't work with high flow of
So
traffic.
that's why it's hard to do offsets ones too. I know that's something that the county is trying to figure out too, and that's what we've asked. And I've asked Stantec is, what's better here? Is it a stoplight or a roundabout? Because they just did a stoplight roundabout on Maple Grove Park. I don't know which one it's called. One of the two, pick one. And now how does that function now? It doesn't function at all, really. I mean, northbound you probably don't see as much because it's stop sign and then you just go. But if we put stoplight, is that going to affect anything back on the roundabout there? I don't know. You might have the same problem headed north and then now everyone's backed up down to Target. I don't know. But just things to think about. Like, we're trying to do our best here and we have not rolled out a stoplight. I want to make sure that's clear. So we're all in this together. We have no plans, and this is why we're having this meeting, is because it's important for all of us to have a little thoughts. I know that we got a couple of hands up and a couple of mics floating around, so.
I'll let him go first.
One quick thing I want to add, just in the stoplight versus roundabout discussion. Many of the roundabouts that I have designed and are getting implemented are getting HSIP funding, which is Highway Safety Improvement Program funds. One of the easiest ways, not a great way, but one of the easiest ways for like MnDOT to get that funding is because somebody dies. And we kind of joked, I mean, you can kind of joke and say that, but the reality is that at traffic signals, people don't want to wait to the left. They get tired of waiting, they go, and now you have those right angle collisions. I mean, like a rear end. People aren't dying usually when you get rear ended. May have lots of taillights in your driveway, but people aren't getting injured in those same kinds of accidents. So a lot of times roundabouts are getting put in because of that safety aspect. That becomes a big thing. And it's that total delay. And it might be that, you know what, during really heavy traffic times, we can try to do all kinds of things, and whatever ends up going in, we'll do our best. And hopefully it is tolerable and it's the best thing we can do. But there's a lot of hours of the day that that's not a backup from wherever that's going way back here. So part of what we're working towards is what's a solution that can be the best for the whole day? Because if a lot of the day you don't have those big backups, well, how much do you want your answer to be solely focused on fixing that backup during that 15-minute window when maybe the rest of the day we can slow people down and we can make it safer and we can cover a lot of other issues? So I think not to discount any one concern, but there's lots of concerns, and we have to be able to balance all of those and try to get that answer, you know, that does its best at addressing multiple things.
We just want to be able to get out of our driveway when we need to.
Or within 10 minutes of that.
Yeah.
And
We hear you.
We hear you.
Trust me, we hear
what I'm
you.
saying is, it might be that if you put in a signal, you do a roundabout, or you do an all-way stop, if you could get warrants for every single thing, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you have really heavy volumes going on,
You're gonna get out.
you may be screwed no matter what. It may
right.
just be a crappy time to get out of your driveway, and there may be nothing that we can do about that. I don't know that answer.
I have a
I know you've got the mic, so go
Yeah,
ahead.
he's
Real
got the
quick,
mic,
a couple
'cause
things. I know we're probably getting up towards time, but I want to put on the record. Half of us still have to cross the road to get our mail. I just want to make that,
Oh, yeah.
that's still a problem for everyone on the east side. We have to walk across the road at any point through there to get our mail. We all kind of joke that everyone speeds through there. I don't really understand why, as a city, we just sort of say, well, that sucks. We have a police department that I assume has radar guns and has pens and paper and can write tickets. I don't think, I've seen very few, if ever, anyone get pulled over in that area every once in a while, but not very often. I don't understand why, if this is a well-known speeding area that people are breaking the law, why we wouldn't go and try to enforce some of that. And then I guess my last point, and might be relatively unpopular with my neighbors, at what point does Dayton say, we can try to ease this as much as we can and spend all this money, versus this is going to go to 15,000 cars a day in 6 years, and just say, maybe these houses shouldn't be here anymore. And as much as that hurts, is doing all of this to try to do all of these hoops really worth it for what Dayton's going to be in 20 years?
Great question.
I can kind of answer that last one. On that, this will almost certainly become a 4-lane road in the future, or at least that's the plans that the county has identified. That was part of the reason for the Dayton pushing for the realignment, for Dayton staff pushing for the realignment of it, is to allow a wider access without having to acquire significant road right away from existing homes.
I mean, you can't put a 4-lane road there and not take my house out. Like,
Probably, yeah.
That's what I mean.
all of our houses.
There's going to be significant impact,
There
without
will
a
be
doubt.
significant.
Without a doubt.
And-
But I do want to touch on that, you know, if these roundabouts are constructed, we would design and have them in mind that they could be utilized with an expanded roadway. We would most likely wait for the county to do the expansion project, just because it would be very costly. It would probably require, you know, full buyouts and relocation costs of property owners. The city, we can't even pay for our own roads, and we're trying to fix the county roads, you know, to help you folks, or to help, you know, to help the situation here. So, I mean, we're doing what we can with the limited funds. We are chasing dollars. Hopefully some of those fall into place and we can make some improvements that have meaningful improvement, or changes that have meaningful improvements along here. So, but it's not a throwaway cost is what I wanted to point out. It's not like this would be a Band-Aid that's wiped out if the road had to be expanded. It would still be utilized and have benefit.
Yeah, I will know one thing for the police department is that we do our best. We only have 2 officers on at a time. Potentially 3, if we have a sergeant on, that's a split shift. They run it to different shifts right now. They're doing some different things next year. They're trying to figure it out, so hopefully we have 3 on at most times, but right now we only have 2 on at a time. And so we do traffic a lot. We do a lot more than we used to. And we do this area as well. So specifically when the stop signs got put in, we did a lot more patrol down this area. But you'll be amazed at how far you can see in this area. If we can see you, you can see them.
Yes.
And
That's why they hide in Dean's parking lot.
they do Dean's parking lot or whatever to try to do our best to catch speeders, because typically if you catch a speeder, if they see that an officer there, they'll slow down obviously right away, just like everybody else does. But then they'll typically slow down for a certain period of time after that because they expect the officer to be there. And so we try to do, and I'm gonna say we do circle events around the city where we do different areas. Historic Village is one of them that we do.
Do we have empty cars that we can park?
We do not, we have off-duty
Those
cars.
cardboard ones that you
Yeah.
see out for like Illinois North.
We have off-duty cars.
Staffing issues, I know they've done it, right?
We have
They'll park a car
off-duty
there.
cars. Yep, we
Yeah,
have
they'll
off-duty
park it and
cars.
leave it there, so it looks like someone's there.
Yep.
And then people they can't start guessing. Sometimes there's a cop in it, sometimes there's not.
So we have begun talks about that because we have enough vehicles in order to cover every officer while they're on right now. For a while, Dayton didn't have enough vehicles to cover officers, so we'd have to be switching vehicles and then sending one off to repairs, and then we're using that vehicle, and then we're taking the chief's car and whatever else. Next year, we'll have enough vehicles for every officer, so that way we will be able to have backups, so that might be something we do as a potential
If these
help.
are, if these are county roads, why isn't Hennepin County also supplying police officers?
They spend their 1 hour, they're required to spend 1 hour a month or something in the city of Dayton. So.
They don't care.
They spend most of their time in downtown Minneapolis,
Yep.
or
That's where the
somewhere in
volume
there.
is.
Are those county roads down there?
They are
That's
Hennepin
where
County,
the
so yes.
Are we putting more police officers on since we're getting more people moving into our community?
We have slowly increased the police force over the last few years. Next year, like I said, it's planned to have another officer on, so that will make a 2-officer minimum with a 3-officer most of the time, which means that we have at least one backup. So typically on a lot of calls, we'll have 2 officers go. So like, I'll use an example, like a domestic violence call, we have to have 2 officers on for safety and for safety of both us and them. And so because of that, sometimes both of our cars are taken up on a 1 domestic violence, so that means we have no speeding there's no speeding or anything else happening in Dayton for an officer. Next year is planned to have, like I said, a 2 minimum with a 3-car average, so that we'd have 3 vehicles on at a time, which hopefully will help provide more resources. That's probably been the biggest area of, I'm gonna say, success for city staff, is be able to have more officers on. Over the last few years, I think we've hired, over the last 3 years, since I've been administrator, I think we've hired 5 or I think it's 5. If the next year's gets approved. So that's been one thing that we've kept up on, which is good, or I should say at least caught up on, because we were so far behind for many, many years on that aspect. Hopefully that helps and answers your question. Keith's got the mic, so
Oh,
I get it now.
you get it next. You take the cue.
My perspective on this, being I grew up in the city and have lived in the area of Fernbrook and Elm Creek Road since the 60s, right? When my parents moved to this city. The city fathers from way back when I was a young man, which is a lot of years ago, had plans for the future development coming through Dayton. We talked about part of that already here tonight. Part of that was that there was a main line road that went along the power line from the south end of the city to the north end of the city, with at some point maybe that connecting to the river and over into Ramsey. And that all started back in, from my perspective, in the 70s, when I became a young adult and I actually started paying a little bit of attention to that. But that was on the books for a long time, and I think you alluded to that here a while ago.
Yep.
And for some reason, that got trashed. That went through the planning commission. I remember the old planning commission members that were my neighbors telling me about that plan. One was Alan Dean, one was Floyd Nelson. And they were totally frustrated, especially Floyd, God rest his soul, was totally frustrated when he saw that the city moved away from that. He said that was the only viable north-south connection that they could see from, from taking traffic from 121 and moving it through the newer developments in the city and on the north side. Well, that got trashed. There's no sense beating that dead horse. It's dead, right? That property's gone now. They build houses on. We let them build houses on that property. The next plan that was floated out there, was changing Fernbrook Lane at 113th, moving it west, diagonally across where DCM Farms wants to build homes now, behind most of these folks' houses, and then making that connection across away from or west of Fernbrook Lane.
And then the southbound traffic would be, other way would be kitty corner from the, I'm gonna call it Dead Man's Corner, whatever you wanna call it, the 90-degree down to the interchange. Yep, you're correct.
Right. I mean, either one of those plans would have been far superior in my mind than what we're looking at here today. But for whatever reason, city planners, whether it's planning commission, council, or all of the above, or maybe folks that worked for the city at that time, decided that none of those plans were feasible. So every time we moved away from those plans, we gave property back to developers so they could build more homes and make more money and cause us more chaos in the city. Every home that gets built, and I know all these people that move in here, great people, right? This isn't about them. It's about what we let developers do to our city. The only thing we have left now is gut the middle through the middle of Dayton at some point in our future and make 121 a 4-lane road, because we've taken away all of the other all the other options. We've taken them off the table. So now we're right back to where we were before. And if we had done nothing, if we had done no planning, all those people did all that hard work back in those days, if we'd have done nothing, we'd be right at where we are here now. So I think we've made a horrible mistake, and we've left ourselves with a big pile to fix. And I'm glad I'm not you guys, because I don't know how you fix this. I really don't. Outside of putting a roadblock up and keeping people from, from the southern end of the city from cutting through to get across the river in Ramsey, there's just too much traffic on that road. We all know that that road can't sustain that kind of traffic. We all know it's not safe. The intersection at Rush Creek Parkway, by putting the stop signs up there, I mean, I've got to assume that was with a tremendous help and push from Commissioner Anderson at Hennepin County to make that happen. Because when they first put those signs, or before they put those signs up, there were people that were going west on Elm Creek Road, and they wanted to go south on Fernbrook Lane. They had the median in there, and the left turns and the right turn lanes and stuff in there. People were making left turns off from Elm Creek Road and driving down the wrong side of the median on head-on traffic going south. And 2 weeks after one of our counselors and myself had a meeting with Kevin Anderson, Commissioner Anderson, about that, they had a sign up there that says "Do not enter." Now, I don't know, whether people listen to signs or not. At least it's another flash up there that, hey, you're dummy, you're going the wrong way. Kind of like going down a freeway ramp the wrong way. You see them everywhere. Within 2 weeks, that sign was up there. And then, now they rearranged the whole intersection with the stop signs. And I don't have a problem with the stop signs, because at least I can get from my house over to our farm at Elm Creek Road without half dying. At least you go up that intersection, you can turn left, you can go up there, and you can get back out because everybody stops and everybody takes their turn. But we've got a heck of a mess here. And I don't know that the solution is to just throw our hands up in the air and say, well, at some point, we're just going to pull all the homes out along Fernbrook Lane. There's a lot of people that live along there. Most of those folks that live along that road, at least most of those homes, have been there most of my life. There hasn't been this huge boom of homes being built along Fernbrook. Those houses have been there since 50s, 60s, 70s.
And I think your point is, that's why we're here talking to you guys tonight, just because we know there's an issue. And we know there's a problem, and we hear you guys, and We hear the folks on Fernbrook that complain about it each and every day and live it, see it, and I've driven this area in that time frame, and I hate it as much as you guys do. And I don't live there. But that's why we're here. That's why we're talking about it. We're not sitting back and kicking the can and saying, hey, we're just waiting for something to happen around here. I don't disagree with anything that you said about pre-planning. I mean, if we didn't do any planning, we'd be right here where we started off today. So I don't disagree with that, and I think there's been a lot of city staff time that would agree with your points, Keith, that say that we should have done something. And there has been many, many numerous city staff that have said the same thing, and city council and the planning commission have said no. So that's where we have to sit today, but because of those decisions, we have to make decisions now, and we have to make things that go forward so that we don't end up 20 years down the road looking back and going, we didn't do anything here, look at this, now we got nothing. So that's my goal, and that's Jason's goal, and John's goal here, and city staff is to make good decisions that we can look back on and say, that was good planning, versus saying 20 years from now, saying, well, why did we take away that to put more homes in? Because I'll be the first one to tell you that I agree with you. So Lee has the mic, and then yes, I know you have a question. So.
I'm kind of with her.
Okay.
I want to say thank you.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. As long as
Thank
you've signed in and everything, that's all we need is contact info. That's great.
Thank you.
Very much. Yep.
Okay.
Lee.
I know, we're brainstorming. It's maybe a bad
Yep.
idea, it might be a really great idea, but at least an idea. What would happen right now if, at least until this DCM project is laid out more, what if we just did nothing for a while and just said, we got to wait and see what happens, because we built the wrong intersection here at Rush Creek. The territorial roundabout was the wrong roundabout.
Be easy with the we on that one.
Well, I know, because I think my dollars are in there somewhere and I'm not
Your
getting them
dollars
back.
are there somewhere.
So, but, I mean, what if we, I'm not saying just totally freeze, but, and idle engineers can be a problem, I know that, from working with them. But what if we didn't do anything until we know for sure what the real problems are? Like I say, I think this Pine View roundabout has created as many problems as it's solved. I think the four-way stop sign at Rush Creek has helped a lot more than the existing one, although I do miss the right turn lanes. And it's just an idea. I'm not trying to advocate for the position, but I'm saying, what if we didn't do anything right away except sit and collect some data, which I hate doing, but just see what's happening, see where the trend is going right now, see where all these cars are, and look. There's got to be other alternatives to get the cars out of this Rayburn Hills and DCM safely without having to come through my front yard practically. So.
Well, what's your plan for that?
Well, that's it. But what I'm saying is, if we don't do anything for a year or two even, I don't know that it's going to get much worse, except there's going to be more traffic. It's still going to be spaced bad. It's still going to take me 8 to 10 minutes to get out of my driveway sometimes, and sometimes I won't be able to make a left turn to come to City Council meetings, so that could be a good thing for you guys. But,
Love to see it.
you're lying through your
You get to enjoy the fun like I do.
Okay. But, what if we took our time on this, maybe is what I'm saying. I'm not saying we don't do anything, but rather than do it wrong and spend $8 million to do this, what if we wait and see what's going to happen, like at 114th? Maybe that's going to be something totally different.
Sure.
So it's just a thought. Like I say, I'm not advocating for it. I'm just throwing a brainstorming idea out there, so.
No, that's great.
I'll try to be quiet
At this
the rest of the
point,
night.
the only thing we've guaranteed and are doing is a corridor study on this area. So that's the only thing we've guaranteed and are actually doing is a corridor study. That's it.
How much is that costing us?
I don't remember the last 40 something, 46,000.
Dennis keeps saying that all these studies seem to cost us $40,000.
Well, it's about how much time they take. And this one is being paid for by the developer's contributions
Okay.
from Rayburn Trail. So it's not tax dollars that are going towards it. And we feel like it's the right thing to do to at least get a study down, whether that's with traffic counts or with information, whether it's do nothing, that might be an answer. I don't know.
I hope it's not, but I hope we
But-
don't do the wrong thing.
I'm not saying it's forever an answer, but what I'm saying is maybe it's the answer we slow down. Like I said, the nearest thing would be 2028, and the reason why we're looking at 2028 for timing wise is because there is a project that's planned for at the bottom of the hill south of Fresh Creek Parkway in Maple
Yes.
Grove
Yep.
for the connection point and the legacy project of Three Rivers Park District to put a trail underneath the roadway, so a grade separated trail. And so because of that, their plan is to do that in 2028 when they reconstruct the bridge on that same area. So they're reconstructing that bridge at the bottom and doing the grade separated connection point. And so because that's gonna be in 2028, they're already gonna shut down the roadway. So our thought is, can we do this project as well in 2028? So we're only shutting down the roadway one time, not 4 times or 3 times or 2 times. Try to minimize it, because it's going to be a disruption, guaranteed, and it's gonna suck. I mean, I know when they shut it down for a while there, it sucked. I'm sure it did. We're trying to
It
minimize
was
it.
rather nice.
Maybe it was great for you guys. We can shut it down for another couple of years if you want.
I have a quick question tied to yours, and it's kind of for you guys. Probably you guys know more on this development parts than me. This connection, I know that my understanding is that this development is like multiple phases and everything, right? Do you guys have an idea of like when that connection is supposed to happen? Because that's one thing. If you say, okay, we're going to wait and do nothing,
Right.
but at some point this road is going to get built to here.
They're moving dirt. Right now, they're moving dirt.
But like at some point, this road is gonna connect, so there's a window of time to affect
built in a
it.
year.
is all.
No, They're subcutting for the road, but there's not plans to construct it yet.
Right.
But they are triggered, second edition?
I think it's second.
With the second edition, it's a trigger to it. Another one is if they were to develop anything within this triangle, it would have to happen at that time. I suppose there could be modifications, if there was reasons to
So what
delay
if we
or
just said, okay,
accelerate.
we're not gonna develop that area right now?
Then I would just say,
You know,
That's
Thomas
already said.
even been agreeable to some of that, and, you know.
what's that?
Hasn't it already been said? Oh,
No,
This is an outlot, so this triangle is an outlot, so there's nothing there.
right.
No, there's nothing approved or.
Is that the commercial part?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
But the rest of it has been approved.
The first edition, so the first half of the homes has been approved. It is planned that they're gonna do a second edition, you know when?
26.
Soon.
Soon, okay. So the second edition will be the rest of the homes,
Right,
not the triangle.
right.
So the second edition would be the homes, which means that we have to do something here. Again, it doesn't have to be a roundabout necessarily.
Right.
But the connection has to be made,
Right.
and then we have to have some sort of safe access, whether that's stop signs again, or a stop light, or some, I don't know.
But the location of that,
The location of that has
the
to.
location gets determined with that process. So that's where, if it thinks it wants to be a roundabout, then you can adjust your placement, so where that, it's like you have to reserve space,
Right,
right?
but what, I don't know if everybody else is, but what I feel like is, we're putting this in first, and then we're gonna kinda go work from there.
I
mean,
think
we
there,
won't
it's
decide the
working
roundabout's
together.
gonna
I'm
be-
just,
Right.
we have roundabouts drawn, so that's where I'm just, like,
So
just at a high level, when they're laying out those properties and the parcels and things like that, I understand the notion of like, well, let's just wait and see. I'm just highlighting the fact that there's a part of this that if you say, let's just wait and see, you put in a road, now if you want to change it, like, once the right-of-way's there and all of those things, it becomes much more expensive
Right, but
later
that's
on
the
to make
problem
those
that Keith was
changes.
talking about with, when they were looking at rerouting 121 up along the power lines. You know, we had a plan to do that and we didn't do it, and now it's gonna cost us a ton of money if we wanna do that, so, and I.
Had a bunch of homes, yeah.
And I
They
don't
ain't
wanna
gonna
see
do that
this
now.
come the same
Yeah.
way.
Well, I'm just saying that as, you know, you guys are saying, there is a timetable out there. It may have a little bit of variancy to it, but there's a timetable with that development. So the wait and see, there's a window. I mean, you can't wait until the whole development's done and then say, yeah, we should put in a roundabout. Like, you may have missed the
No, I
chance to not
understand
have
that.
those in place. That's all I'm just.
Right.
You got a question?
Okay,
I do
somebody's got a
have
question up here.
It's, both of us have about basically the same question, and it's the roundabout on 114th.
Yep.
And this is Sue has the end house.
You at the house there, yep.
Okay, now my question with her is, you got one traffic come out here and roundabout and one go this way. This gonna be large car coming out front of my house and going down to 114. Why don't they make this road go up to the restaurant there and go out that way? Instead coming out this way, go this way. Then it's no traffic coming out here. Then it's no reason you put a roundabout here.
So it's
Basically, why realign?
we're realigning the
Why
roadway.
leave it at
Go ahead.
See?
Address that.
This is gonna be more car coming out, lots of
Yeah.
house here.
So, I apologize, it's gonna be, I'll go walk.
Her question is, why do the 114th here? Why not just leave it at 113th? I think that's
Right.
what her general question. That's your general question, Sue?
That was,
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so kind of two thoughts behind this. So, and as you are all attesting with, I can't get out of my driveway and it's hard to access the road. The more points of access you have, the more points of conflict there are, the poorer it usually operates and your safety goes down. So access density, we call it. We try to minimize the number of connection points or location where there's intersections. We have a four-way intersection here and a four-way intersection at 117th. These are three-legged intersections. Realigning, get my bearings here. Realigning 113th to 114th eliminates an intersection, so it reduces the intersections by one. And in addition to it, we try to space out major intersections at as large intervals as possible and evenly spaced. Moving 113th, which I would say is the second most busiest, maybe argue with 117th, but a very busy road. Moving it down to 114th puts it almost exactly in the middle of the other two, so it increases the distance between the major intersections and it improves the spacing between it. And it reduces
a higher
the,
speed between intersections.
so you could probably get going a little bit faster between
What
them.
if you took 114th on the west side and brought it down to meet where 113th is now at Dean's? How much
That's
more
what
or
she's
less of a
saying.
hassle
You
is
didn't
that?
There's a
take my
house.
That's
house?
what she's saying.
Well, that's, I don't know, I mean, we're all trying to decide whose ox is gonna get gored here, right?
I mean, that would be a total taking of several homes. I mean, it's something that could be considered. We're not achieving the spacing of the intersections as
Well,
well.
and it's not military, we don't have to be dress right dress, you know, but.
That's what Sue was saying.
There's too many
Right.
traffic coming out from the new house.
Right.
And it's
Right.
gonna, I mean,
So
where those
you'd
cars
rather
coming
have them
out?
coming at 113th instead of 114th.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure.
But I understand that position. If that was my house, I'd have that position too. But there are those of us that live at 113th and already know that that intersection is horrible. The sight lines to the south at 113th are just like my driveway. There's a huge dip in 121 south of Dean's Country Manor. Cars disappear in that dip. When you're sitting, and my driveway's almost straight across from 113th. When you're looking to the south during the daytime, small cars disappear in that dip. And when you're trying to get out onto the road, you're halfway out on the road and all of a sudden there's a car there in front of Dean's Country Manor. That's a horrible intersection. And it's a horrible place to put more traffic. The third option that we're not even looking at or even considering, and I know it's been discussed, is why in the world is all that traffic from that whole area being routed out to 113th or 114th? It doesn't have to be. That traffic could go north to 117th along the property line between DCM and Brayburn's. That's where that road could and should have gone, and we should make sure that it does that in the second part of DCM's development.
There are connecting roads to the
I
north
think
and
that-
south.
Connecting roads are done now. I think with first edition it was done.
They're currently connected down. There's at least two routes now. There will be a third.
Oh, good, then we don't need 113th anymore then, right?
Or 114th.
Or 114th.
14th
Connection.
should.
Aren't there other homes
Well,
that?
there's other options.
No,
Are
it's
there
a,
other,
Well, and that's where you're supposed to look at other options.
there are
aren't
other,
there
Sure, that would just go through neighborhoods.
more people
with
that
even
come on
more
this road right
residents.
now?
There
that
are.
lived in this development?
there are, they come that way because they don't want to go through the screwed up intersection at Rush Creek. Because that's that whole development that feeds 113th and feeds Rush Creek Road.
113th, I'm just saying, 113th isn't just this development. There's other people.
Right.
There's other
Right.
houses, there's
Right.
other stuff.
And
There
there are
are-
about 250 more.
That road is a quarter of a mile long, 113th, and it dead ends at Sundance Golf Course.
Athletic Event center.
What are we gonna, are we fighting over which ones we're gonna axe? I mean, I don't think I think the idea is we want to provide as much access safely. Right? I mean, we're trying to get good spacing and safe intersections and like concerns about sight distance. Those are very valid.
What if we provided less access safely?
Hennepin County
Then you're just
would not be
gonna
against
traffic
that.
Right by your house again. I mean, if at least you have this connection, if they're gonna head south, at least they don't go by your house. I mean, they go by Keith's house, I guess. But.
They go over by everybody's house. If you go north or south, we all live on that road.
Eliminate the west access, and then you don't have to put a roundabout in there or anything.
Still stay straight
And then
through.
we're sending all of the
And then-
units through residential
Yeah,
areas.
and then you send them to the
So
neighborhood, and then you hit them.
Well, they-
And then they get to 117th, and then they all take a right, and then they all run back to your house, and then they're doing
Yeah.
55 by here, and you guys are all freaking out, losing your minds. So, I mean,
That's,
Maple Grove Parkway could have extended straight up.
that's
that's
crazy
so
though.
we're evenly.
I know, but it's like, we're looking for the most painful one that we want to do here.
No, we're trying to figure out what's gonna work for people.
That's crazy, that's crazy to say we don't want to route people that live in a residential area through a residential area
Well, that's-
to get out from their
It's an
home.
event center. Bowling
You have a
alley,
commercial
golf-
district, you
golf
can't
store. I
put a
mean,
commercial traffic
It's
through
not,
a
it's not
residential
just
area.
additional residents. It's
But it-
places of.
You're doing it now, you don't have any problem routing that traffic right by my house.
But your house isn't a I mean, you're on a county road, right?
County road.
You're on a county road.
Yep.
A county road is not a subdivision road. I understand it's your residence, but if your driveway is in a subdivision, that is a different environment than it is on a county road.
Why?
Those roads that were put into that whole development are all put there because we let the developer do it the way it is right now. We let him screw us into this corner. It's just, it goes right back to what I was talking about before. When the developers come in here and they drag a carrot around, and the city of Dayton follows that carrot, we end up with this mess. I don't know how you get out of this mess without paying from somewhere. I mean, I'm not worried about whether the road going down through, over to 117th may go by some homes. Maybe that changes the way the developer builds in there. Right now, there aren't any homes in that whole field. There's a couple of hundred acres there with no homes in it. They're deciding, they're building roads, they're laying sewer and water. They haven't built anything in there, so there's no one that lives in there now. So the only people that would go through that new road over to 117th right now are maybe a few people from the Sundance development to the south that don't want to go through Rush Creek, or the people that want to go to Sundance Golf Course, which is only half the size now as what it was a few years ago.
'Cause we got out.
I'm guessing that in the next 5 years, there won't be any golf course there, so we won't have any commercial back there to worry about. They'll sell it all off and build more homes, then it'll all be commercial. We will have adjusted our whole road system based on a commercial piece of property that's owned by the same developer that's developing that whole field that's causing all this problem in the first place. We followed his carrot all over the place, and here we are. What did it get us? It got us an absolute mess. So if we have to tell him he needs to run a road across through there and run it over to 117th, I don't have an issue with that.
But you can't do that now that you have a preliminary plat. You can't do that.
He doesn't have a plat for the whole property.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he does.
Yes, he does. All of your comments, Keith, are very valid. I would agree with all of them. I don't disagree with any of your comments. I want to make sure that's clear. Like, I'm not arguing with you. But that, our time to tell that to the developer, our time to do that stuff is that preliminary plat.
Much of these
Much of
issues
these-
were raised then.
Yeah, I do not disagree with you.
Okay.
Again, none of us in this room have a single vote on that at all.
Right.
None of us in this room have a single ounce of ability to change that. We could tell all day long, and you guys can scream at him and yell at him, and I can scream at him and yell at the city council and say, this is wrong, don't do this. And you and I both have, well, you guys have way more power than I do. I have zero power. I'm just here to be staff and tell you how to help you out as much as I possibly can. But I don't disagree, Lee, and I don't disagree, Keith. I mean, I get your frustration. But we're here now, and we got to try to figure out a solution that's going to work
We're
for
here now because we weren't listening back then.
I do not disagree again, but I'm here today. I wasn't here 20 years ago. I wasn't here even 5 years ago. I wasn't here for those things. So, and I've been in the conversations. We had the 100-foot right-of-way. We had it taken care of. Good to go. Agreed upon, ready to go. And then it got changed. So, yes, Ray.
Quick question. You talked about the county perhaps going 4-lane. Any indication of how soon or when or anything, the discussion that they've had with you? Or?
None whatsoever. The only answer I get when I ask the when question is not in the next 10 years because it's not on their plan.
I wouldn't worry about it.
It would, I guess on that note, I mean, just a general kind of rule of thumb is usually you don't look at a lane expansion, meaning adding additional lanes until you meet maybe 12,000 to 15,000 cars per day, somewhere in that ballpark.
projection.
That's super,
But
we
why-
had
but
6,900.
why would they invest any money?
18,000
Yeah.
by the end of
By
this
selling
development
you
behind
that
our
house
house.
and
Why
not
would they
letting you-
invest
Oh,
any money
I don't
on
know if
these
I've seen that.
roundabouts
Because
if
this
they're
was
thinking
already
about
in
that in
place.
10 years? That's gonna be, the
Again,
we
roundabout
would-
has to be.
Again, it's to
Yeah.
benefit for the next
Oh,
10 years. We
yeah.
would make these so
No,
they
you
can be
really
expanded.
can.
It wouldn't be
Right.
money lost.
Okay.
I mean, there would be
Not
some
bad.
inefficiencies because there'd be some
Really?
removals and expansion.
We got 7:30, we tried our best to get to an hour and a half. I think these are all good questions. Does anybody have any further questions? Again, this is not the last time. We will have an open house as well for after we go through some more information, take down your notes and such, again, from individuals that are directly involved with it, but we will have another open house, so there will be another chance to have conversation, but any final kind of comments, questions?
Well, where are all these 7,000 cars going to? Outside of Dayton, correct? Most of these cars are going through Dayton? To other,
From Champlin.
so they're going,
Yeah,
I would guess a lot of them are regional, but I,
169 or 101. So our goal is to try and reduce that amount. That's why I think stop signs
so I think the
discourage
69,
them from wanting to go through Fernbrook as a way to get to a destination outside of Dayton and use 169 or 101, which is built for the higher traffic. We need to try and discourage that. And we also use that to piggyback onto, if we are going to do roundabouts in 2028, could we put in stop signs now until then to make it safer and to maybe discourage traffic? So it is just local traffic.
I think Maple Grove did a good job of that by putting in the roundabout there and then the stoplight, so I think that's honestly deterring a lot of people from this roadway that would normally have gone this roadway. Maybe not.
I don't think so.
But,
Not enough.
well, I don't know, I mean,
It's picking up.
it's picking back up now.
Rush Creek all the way to Territorial Roundabout.
So I mean,
Depends on what time of day
eventually
you go
when
by there.
when there's so many cars there and they stop at the stop sign, they can't go anywhere. Eventually, traffic finds its way. It's like water. It finds the quickest, fastest way around, and it'll go that way. When there's a stop sign and then there's a roundabout and then there's a stoplight, people don't have patience these days. They don't, and so they'll find a different route and they'll say, and maybe that's your point is find a
Make
different
it
route.
miserable for them to get through there.
Yeah, it's possible.
That's how they found Fernbrook in the first place.
So if we
It's
put in
because
stop
of the
signs
Yeah.
now as justification until these other things get done.
So Rush Creek Parkway, from my understanding, the reason why it even got stop signs is based on an actual person from Hennepin County going out to the intersection and watching it for a day. We finally got somebody who was new at the county to be able to go out there and watch the intersection for a day. And they said, well, this intersection sucks. And we said, yeah, we've been telling you that for years.
Yeah,
So then they
that's
put stop
right.
signs in. That's how that got
Was there a
done.
camera put up at 113?
There was not a camera put up at
I
113.
thought I saw a pole there.
There was.
Oh, yeah, sorry, that's the other.
That was-
Well, I think
wasn't that the
we had
color?
that put up.
Traffic counter?
No, that's there's a, gosh dang it, I'm gonna.
oh, the
forget.
camera was for the traffic counts.
Yeah.
Was it for
Did you have
traffic?
a camera? I didn't hear.
I thought it was for our Hawk system or
No.
flock system. Is that
Well, that's for the traffic count.
Yeah, that was Hennepin County's. They collected the data for us.
Yeah, it was only there for a week or two.
Yeah.
Figure two, yeah. So they got traffic counts on that thing for whatever. But that's the only reason we have stop signs there is because somebody actually came up from the county and looked at the
But I'm saying
intersection.
at 113th, isn't there
Yeah.
cameras there too? I saw it.
Is there one there
It
now?
was. The
Oh,
traffic
well, they
counter.
also did one at Rush Creek, there was a camera there too.
Is there one there
They,
now?
I believe they moved it. I don't know if there was the same one or multiple, but they did each
there
of
one
the
there now?
intersections. So they record all of the movements and then they give us the
Right,
data.
I think the same camera was on Elm Creek for a period of time. too.
And that's the
Yeah.
traffic counting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question, you're saying this is very high level,
Yep.
20,000 feet right now. You're asking for our input of how it's gonna impact our properties. When does it become real that you talk to us about the details that are gonna make a difference?
I would love if you had particular things about your property to share with me, to like write it on a piece of paper right now, so that when we have traffic numbers and I go and I try to move this, I know that. So like, if you know things right now that you can tell me, so that when I go in and start moving lines, I can take it into consideration, the sooner the better.
Yeah, if you live on one of the corners here, that'd
Yes.
be great. There, and I know Sue's one of them. And then I don't know.
I'm 117.
Are
You're
you
on the
this one
corner?
here?
Yeah.
Okay, so
So
that's
yes, anything
fantastic.
that you can,
Yeah.
concerns or use or, whatever.
Know about the property,
So we're close to your home and there's a grade there. And there was a rumor that your septic might be in that area. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but those are the types of things we would love to hear. Like you have concerns of different areas, out of a septic or a well or some other obstacle that we need to
I can
avoid.
contribute right now, we're 11320 Fernbrook, and our well is right out by the road. So if you're
It's in the front
planning,
yard.
yeah,
So, yeah, so if
Because
so-
it needed to be there because the septic is in the back.
Yeah,
Yes.
so if the roadway were to expand, likely your well's gone, which means,
right.
If they take any of our yard, yeah.
yeah, take your yard, your
Right.
well would have to be gone, which means that, again, that would mean maybe your house
Right.
has to be
So
gone.
those are the kind of
Those are
things
great comments.
that's the kind of stuff
Yeah,
that
that's
like,
what
to
we're
be able
looking
to
for.
know that is great. And whether you want to email it to, I think they probably all
Yeah,
have
I think
your
my
information.
hopefully I'll kept well, I have emails. We'll send out an email asking for more info and giving contact.
Also,
info.
I mean, if there's something that's gonna impact it, I mean, just draw it on the map here of where your septic or your well is.
That would be great.
Yeah, however you can get us that information, I mean, that was kind of the intent here. The pictures that we're showing, I haven't drawn anything. These are older, the one at Rush Creek was done, with a different, like, we just wanted to have this conversation so that we can get that information and we can try to, account for it and understand what your concerns are and do our best as we're drawing it. And whatever we draw next isn't going to be set in stone. It's not going to have gone through approvals, but hopefully it's more refined than what this is. The traffic information might say, we need another right turn lane here. Okay, well then I'll have to draw that in. But I don't know yet.
Just mini roundabouts, what are these considered?
Yeah,
These are just a normal.
This would be just like the one at Pineview.
not gonna get worked up
Yeah.
about it.
So a mini roundabout,
just don't
the
like
center
The traffic come out, you see that?
is surmountable.
What you
Like
would
you
have-
could drive right over it.
What
So
you would have
that's-
seen on Fernbrook heading south prior to that redirection onto Maple Grove Parkway,
Yeah.
that's a mini roundabout, basically just a big giant center cement
So, one
median
of the
thing.
things that you should
And they're
let
really,
Jason know,
they're like
where is
more
your
urban,
well
they're a lot
and where is
smaller,
your
and
septic?
they're just trying
Something
to.
is in the back.
Yeah, but where
You're
is your
supposed to
well?
drive it like
Right,
a
and
roundabout,
the
but it
signs
doesn't
are
have
Russia.
those same things. And like with higher
Oh,
speeds,
By
it's,
who?
you lose a
Next
lot
door,
of those,
Russia.
the features that would
Oh, Stacy.
enable you to slow
Stacy.
people down.
Okay. But
What's
there,
these
you
are
should
people
let
supposed to
him
go
know
through
where
roundabouts?
your well
They-
is.
We, in general, when we're designing roundabouts, the circulating
Yeah, but
roadways
there's-
are
your
15 to
septic
20.
system is probably gonna get.
Or at least like those entering curves.
back.
You know, I mean, that's kind of what we're aiming for, maybe like 25, but like those are kind of the speeds that are designed. And if you go and look at a roundabout that's 20 years old, I can tell you every time I do one, things are modifying and they're changing and they're always evolving. So there are roundabouts out there that suck, that like, I mean, I've looked at some on aerials and you're like, oh my gosh, they should have done all kinds of things, but that's because they're
Email to.
we're continuing to learn from them the more that they are. So please don't look at a roundabout that was the first one ever installed at wherever and think that it's going to be exactly how every roundabout going forward is going to be.
And we could take
They're
a
custom.
picture of this.
Great comments.
Well, you've already, you heard,
Exit
Marcia-
Last,
where
yeah,
your septic
Marcia
is.
mentioned our
I'll
well
do
in
it.
our
I'll
front
take
yard
a
at
picture.
11320. 11280, which is just the house to the south of us, which is directly
that was
across.
that gentleman that was sitting here, right?
Yes, Calvin, yeah.
I'd be gone.
His well is in his front yard too,
That's me.
right alongside his driveway. The house,
You could-
no, Landage is back farther back, but the house to the north of me, the garage that's built on there had to get a special variance from the city of Dayton when that garage was built back in 1971 or 72. That garage is closer to the road than what it would be allowed today. So that garage, that home would be screwed up, ours would be screwed up, the one to the south would be screwed up.
Yeah, so-
I'm
Well,
not
I
sure.
don't know,
You would
depending
wanna
on
put
what,
an X, like
depending on
right
what the
here.
design is, it may not be an issue.
But if they want more land from our yards, it would be an
It
issue.
would be an issue.
There is no
So, yeah,
room
I
for
mean, it
expansion there.
just- Right,
There
and
is-
that's where,
in
if we
your
know
area,
where
there's
those
no
things
room
are,
for
then
that.
we can
No.
factor that in.
And
And if, as a result of the right-of-way, your well gets impacted, then that would be part of the right-of-way cost.
Right, the county's already looked
So you
at
put X right
left and
here
right
where
turn
your
lanes there like they
septic
did on
is,
some of the
something
other
right from my
intersections, like
house.
they did at Rush Creek
No,
Parkway
your septic's-
initially.
Septic
And there
is
really is no
This is
room.
your house,
If you
right
go to
here.
the west,
And
you're
septic-
taking out Dean's
Yeah,
Country
isn't that
Manor, right?
kind
Which
of the
is
side on the
the
back?
the DCM developments, that's Deeds Country Manor Developments,
You
that's,
just want to make.
that
them
family
know
that's
that
doing
their
that.
Well, is
And
in
if you go
between there.
our
You
side,
still wanna let them
you're screwing
know
with
that.
those homes that I
Thank
just
you.
mentioned.
Yes, thank you very much.
Just so you know
Yeah.
that.
And
All right.
as, you know, as much of that information, then we can do our best to factor it in. I mean, I can't give no guarantees on any
good, yep.
piece of information.
2 more
The
minutes.
more
What do we got?
have, the
She's
better
talking,
it
aren't
is.
we?
Okay, fire away, Lee. What do you
Go
got?
ahead.
I have a question for the engineer people, the people that design these. On a 55-mile-an-hour, 2-lane road, what is the capacity of the roundabout in traffic? In, say, in cars per day, cars per hour, however you measure traffic? There has to be a maximum number, right?
Well, the bigger thing for roundabouts, it has to do with like the different movements. So it's not going to be just like, well, what's through traffic? It's gonna have to do with like, at different points in the roundabout, for it to be a single lane, it's like 1,100 cars, but it's not
1,100
just,
cars
but
Per day, per
like
hour,
per hour.
Okay.
But then it has to do with like it, at a given point, you'd say, okay, all the cars that are going north that are taking a left, you'd have to add like that volume plus this, like you have to add volumes from different points
Right.
to see, because at different spots.
Well, and that's kind of why I'm asking, because I don't know,
Yeah.
at what point are we so saturated with either roundabouts or traffic that it just doesn't work?
Well, and then that's where like here, like you can see on this Rush Creek one that was done, where there's 2 lanes going northbound. And so that's where,
But
as we do the traffic analysis, they will look at what those volumes are. They would do the modeling and be able to see those volumes and how it works. And then that's what leads into the like, well, where do you need a second lane? When do you need 2 lanes for the whole thing for vehicles to get through? Right? Like this is a
Okay.
spot where, you know, like this
Okay.
spot, these cars
Oh, yeah, thank
turning.
you.
Well,
Thanks for coming.
and
Appreciate
depending
it.
on what
Thank
that
you.
modeling
thanks.
shows and
Okay,
what
this
the
is coming
traffic
out
is.
of the development right now.
Yeah.
We'll follow up
Okay.
with
But like,
an email,
so
but
this
don't
right
hesitate
turn
to
lane.
call or contact me.
This
Sue's
could be
gonna
handled
send
more than
you
one
an
way,
email
depending on what the volumes are. So
explaining
depending
where
on
the
how many
septic
people are
is,
coming,
is,
like
and
right
the-
here,
and
how
the
many cars
well.
are going
Okay.
this direction.
Well, right now,
Just-
the projection
just-
here.